What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest stars gets ambushed? Live on national television. What happens when the charm of late night turns into a firing squad of brutal, unfiltered questions? Tonight we're breaking down the shocking confrontation that sent Jennifer Lopez storming off the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live, leaving millions speechless and the entertainment world reeling. This wasn't just another awkward celebrity interview. This was a total meltdown of professionalism, a raw, real-time unraveling of mutual respect. Before we dive into the chaos, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because what you're about to hear, you truly won't believe. The night started like any other taping, a buzzing audience, cameras rolling, and then Jennifer Lopez emerged, radiant in emerald green, her signature glow lighting up the room. She waved, smiled, and took her seat with effortless poise. Jimmy Kimmel welcomed her with a warm grin. "Jennifer Lopez, everybody. You look incredible as always." Jennifer laughed lightly, relaxed and gracious. "Thank you, Jimmy. It's great to be here." Everything seemed fine. Until it wasn't. Without warning, Kimmel shifted gears. "Let's talk about what everyone's been buzzing about lately." There was a flicker in Jennifer's expression. Her smile stayed, but her eyes sharpened. "Oh no," she said with a tight laugh. "What now?" Kimmel leaned in. "Some critics say your recent performances lack the energy you used to bring. That maybe it's not what it once was." The studio tensed. J.Lo's smile twitched, just slightly. "I'm sorry, what are you referring to exactly?" "Because my fans and my team have had nothing but praise for my work." Kimmel's grin stretched wider. Something about it felt off. "Look, let's be honest. You're not 25 anymore. Maybe it's time to adjust expectations. Focus more on business, less on keeping up with artists half your age." The room went silent. The air had shifted. Jennifer's fingers tightened around the armrest. "Excuse me," she said, voice low and razor-sharp. "Are you seriously questioning my ability because of my age?" Kimmel held up his hands, mock innocent. "Hey, I'm just saying what people are thinking. We've all seen the clips, some of the dance moves, the vocals." He trailed off, pretending to shrug. Jennifer paused, calculated. Then, "Jimmy, I've been in this industry over 30 years. I've sold millions of records, headlined stadiums, starred in films, and built empires. If you think I'm going to sit here while you insult me for clicks, you're very mistaken." But Kimmel didn't back down. In fact, he pushed harder. "Come on, we're adults. Can't we talk honestly about aging in Hollywood? I mean, how long can someone keep pretending to be Jenny from the block before it gets desperate?" That was the word. Desperate. It hit like a slap. Jennifer's eyes flared, her jaw clenched. "You want honesty?" she said, leaning forward. "I am at the top of my game. I outwork people half my age." "What you just said? That wasn't journalism. That was disrespect." The audience was frozen. No laughter, no applause. Just the deafening realization they were witnessing a train wreck. Live. And Jimmy Kimmel? He had no idea what he'd just unleashed. Section 2. The silence was suffocating. Jennifer Lopez didn't move a muscle. Her eyes were locked on Jimmy Kimmel with a glare so sharp it could cut glass. For a moment it seemed like time itself had frozen. When she finally spoke, her voice was a low, steady whisper, barely above a breath. But it carried the weight of 3 decades spent proving people wrong. "Did you just call me desperate?" Each word was slow, deliberate, and razor-sharp. Did you seriously just sit there on national television and call me desperate? For the first time that night, Kimmel's smug grin faltered, but his ego kept him from seeing how deep he'd just stepped in. I mean, if the shoe fits, he said with a lazy shrug, attempting nonchalance but radiating dismissal. Look, I'm not trying to be mean here. I'm just being honest. Isn't that what good television is about? Honest conversations? Jennifer let out a short, humorless laugh, more of a scoff than anything else. Honest conversations? She echoed. Is that what you think this is? You ambush me with disrespect, toss around ageist jabs like I'm some washed-up relic, and then you call it honesty when I defend myself? That's your idea of good television? Kimmel gestured vaguely toward his desk, where his note cards lay scattered like forgotten apologies. Hey, I didn't write the headlines, he said, trying to play it off. I'm just asking what everyone's already talking about. Isn't it better to confront these things rather than pretend they don't exist? The condescension in his voice was unmistakable now. Jennifer's posture shifted. She uncrossed her legs, leaned in, and transformed from glamorous guest to gladiator in the arena. What people are talking about? She repeated, her tone rising. You mean what tabloids invent to sell covers? The trash bitter people post online because they can't stand to see a woman thrive for 30 years? That's what you want to discuss? Kimmel raised his hands again, but this time the gesture lacked his usual confidence. It looked more like someone bracing for impact. Okay, let's not blow this out of proportion. I didn't realize this was such a sensitive topic. Jennifer's voice cracked through the air like a whip. Sensitive? She shook her head. You think this is about sensitivity? This is about respect, Jimmy. About basic human decency. Something you clearly know nothing about. The audience was visibly squirming now. Some shifted nervously in their seats. Others reached for their phones, recognizing they were watching something historic and deeply uncomfortable. But Kimmel, either too arrogant or too unaware, pushed further. Look, I get it. It's hard to hear. But sometimes the truth stings. You're Jennifer Lopez. You're a legend. But even legends have to face reality at some point. Madonna went through it. Cher went through it. It's just part of the business. Jennifer's eyes narrowed. Don't you dare compare me to other women like we're all cut from the same cloth, she snapped. Don't you dare act like you're doing me a favor by insulting me to my face. Her voice was rising now, her mask of composure shattered. And don't you dare pretend this is about truth, when it's really about your own pathetic need to tear down powerful women for laughs and ratings. Kimmel's face flushed red. The smugness was gone, replaced with something closer to anger, or maybe embarrassment. Hold on, he shot back. I've had plenty of successful women on this show, and never had a problem. Maybe the problem isn't me. Maybe the problem is you. Maybe you just can't handle a little criticism. The words landed like a spark in a gas-filled room. The entire studio fell deathly quiet, the air thick with anticipation. Jennifer stared him down, and when she spoke again, her voice was cold, cutting, and composed. A little criticism, she repeated. Then came the explosion. Jennifer leaned forward, eyes locked on him, her voice low, but razor-sharp. So this is what you think journalism is? You invite me on your show under the illusion of a standard interview, friendly banter, a little fun, and instead you spend every minute trying to chip away at me. You question my talent, my relevance, my age, my career. You call me desperate. You suggest I should pack it up and fade away. And then you dare to call that a little criticism? Kimmel, squirming now, tried to regain footing. "I'm just doing my job," he said, but the edge was gone from his voice. "Sometimes that means asking tough questions. If you can't handle that, maybe interviews aren't for you." The moment hung in the air like a gunshot. Even he seemed to realize too late what he'd just said. Jennifer blinked, stunned for only a second. Then her voice came. Low, controlled, and more dangerous than any scream. "If I can't handle it?" she echoed. "Jimmy, I've spent my entire career handling people like you. Men who think it's their job to diminish me, who treat my accomplishments like accidents, and my ambition like a threat. The only difference is, most of them had the sense to do it behind my back. You're just dumb enough to do it to my face, on national television." She stood up. The sound of her chair scraping the floor echoed like a warning. A few people, in the audience, actually gasped. "You want to know what the real problem is here, Jimmy?" she said, towering over him now. "The real problem is that you're a small, insecure man who gets off on trying to make powerful women feel small. You hide, behind your desk, behind your cue cards, behind your smile. But strip all that away, and you're just a coward in a suit, a bully with a microphone." Kimmel stared up at her, face pale, mouth moving, but no words coming out. The control he once had over the room was gone. "And the saddest part," she continued, her voice rising, "you think you're clever. You think you're edgy. You think humiliating me somehow lifts you up. But all you've done is expose yourself for exactly what you are." The room was dead silent. The audience, the crew, even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. I've been in this business long enough to spot a man trying to build a moment off my name. But let me be clear. I didn't get here by letting people walk over me. I got here by demanding respect, and I'm not going to stop now. Not for you. Not for anyone. She paused, her gaze cutting through him like steel. "So, here's what's going to happen, Jimmy. I'm going to walk off this stage with my dignity intact. And you're going to sit there, behind that desk, behind that smirk, and ask yourself what kind of man you really are. Because right now, you're showing the world exactly the kind of man women like me have had to fight against our entire lives." Kimmel found his voice at last, but it was shaky, defensive. "Let's just calm down. This is still my show, and I think you're overreacting to what was supposed to be a simple conversation." The word overreacting was like lighting a match in a powder keg. Jennifer's head snapped toward him, eyes blazing. "Overreacting?" she hissed. "Overreacting? You spend 15 minutes tearing me down, mocking my career, my age, my worth, and you call it conversation?" Kimmel shifted uncomfortably. "I never said you were washed up. You didn't have to." She snapped. "You hid behind questions. You played it cute. You wanted to see if I'd break. But guess what? I don't break." She stepped closer, the air between them crackling. Kimmel leaned back. For the first time all night, he looked genuinely afraid. "You know what real talk show hosts do?" she said, her voice rising like thunder. "They treat their guests with respect. They create a space where people feel safe to share their stories. They uplift, they highlight, they celebrate. What you do, you ambush women, you humiliate them for ratings. You call it entertainment. I call it cruelty." She looked like she might reach across the desk and grab him. The power dynamic had flipped, entirely. Just minutes earlier, Jimmy Kimmel had been smug and in control. Now he was visibly shrinking in his chair. "You want to know what's really desperate, Jimmy?" Jennifer Lopez said, her voice rising with each syllable. "Desperate is a middle-aged man who gets his thrills from making successful women feel small. Desperate is hiding behind your desk, your writers, and canned audience laughter while you tear down people who've accomplished more than you ever will." The studio fell into absolute silence. Phones came out. Viewers instinctively knew they were witnessing a moment that would make television history. Some gawked. Others simply stared, stunned, as one of the most iconic women in the world dismantled. A talk show host on his own turf, Kimmel made one last feeble attempt to steer things back. "Okay, I think we're maybe getting a little carried away here," he said with an awkward chuckle. "Let's take a breath. Maybe pivot to your new projects. I'm sure the audience would love to hear what you've got coming up." Jennifer laughed, but it wasn't warm. It was sharp, bitter. "Oh, now you want to talk about my projects. Now you're interested in my work. After spending the entire interview questioning whether I'm still relevant, you think you can just flip a switch and pretend the last 15 minutes didn't happen?" "I'm trying to give us both a way out," Kimmel said, his voice cracking, with something that sounded like actual fear. "We can salvage this. Just move on. Talk about something else." Jennifer's voice reached a crescendo, booming across the studio. "A way out?" She turned to face the audience. "Jimmy, there is no way out of this. You made your choice the moment you decided to disrespect me. You made your choice when you called me desperate, when you suggested I should fade away like a relic from the past." She paused, scanning the room. Cameras, crew, audience, every eye locked on her. "And here's what you didn't count on," she said, her voice now cool, composed, cutting. "You didn't count on me standing up for myself. You didn't think I'd speak up and show every single person watching exactly what happens when a woman refuses to be torn down." Kimmel tried to interject, but she raised a hand. The motion was so commanding, so final. He fell silent. "I'm not finished," she said. "The problem with men like you is that you think you can say whatever you want to women, and we'll smile, say thank you for being invited on your little show, and sit quietly while you question our talent, our age, our relevance. Like we should be grateful just to be here." She shook her head slowly, almost pityingly. "But here's the truth. Women like me didn't get where we are by being good little guests. We fought, for every opportunity. We proved ourselves over and over again. We clawed our way through an industry that constantly tried to erase us, and we never let anyone make us feel like we didn't belong." Silence, absolute and deafening. The sound of her heels clicking on the stage as she stepped closer to his desk echoed like a drumbeat. "So here's what's going to happen," she said, her voice now lowered to a steely whisper, somehow more dangerous than if she'd shouted. "I'm going to walk off this stage, and everyone watching is going to see exactly the kind of man you are. They'll see that behind the jokes, behind the smile, behind the fake charm, there's just a bully. A man who tries to make powerful women feel powerless." Kimmel, desperate, tried one more time. "Jennifer, please. Let's just finish the interview. We can cut out whatever you want. None of this has to air." "That was a mistake." Her expression changed. A flicker of rage returned. "Edit it out?" she repeated, astonished. "You think I want to hide what happened here tonight? You think I'm ashamed of standing up for myself?" She turned to the cameras. "This is exactly what I want people to see. I want them to know what happens when you disrespect Jennifer Lopez. I want them to see that I don't back down, not even from men with their own late-night shows." Then, addressing the audience directly, Ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like when a man tries to diminish a woman and fails. This is what it looks like when someone underestimates exactly who they're dealing with. She turned back to Kimmel, her final words delivered with ice-cold precision. And since you're so big on honesty, Jimmy, let me be honest with you. You're a pathetic excuse for a host, and an even worse excuse for a man. And if you think I'm going to sit here one more second and listen to your garbage, you are out of your damn mind. She let it hang in the air. Then came the line that would be replayed 1,000,000 times across social media. So you know what, Jimmy? You. A single echoing moment. No one moved. No one breathed. Then she turned on her heel and walked off the stage with grace, with dignity, with power. Her heels struck the floor in rhythmic defiance as she strode past the stunned audience, past the frozen crew, past the still-rolling cameras that captured every second of her unforgettable exit. She didn't look back. Not once. She didn't pause. She didn't give Jimmy Kimmel or anyone else another second of her time. The studio doors closed behind her, and there sat Jimmy Kimmel, alone, in silence, in the ruins of what had once been his show. One thing was clear. Jennifer Lopez had just delivered the most brutal takedown in talk show history, and Jimmy Kimmel would never recover, so... What do you think? Was Jennifer right to walk off the show? Or was Jimmy just doing his job asking tough questions? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you want more explosive celebrity showdowns. And let me know what other Hollywood confrontations you'd like to see dramatized next. Because trust me, this town, it's full of moments like these, and we're just getting started.